So this is what we have. This is my prick stitch, and this is how I have joined my lining and my main fabric to my zipper. So this is the inside of my garment turned inside out. You can see down here where I made that stitch for the bottom part of my dress on the main fabric, and I did the same thing on the lining fabric, making sure that they kissed. If there's a little bit of like a hole or an opening there, that's fine. You won't see that. That'll be in the inside of the dress. So this is what we're looking at. So before I turn this over to show you what that looks like, I wanted to go, as we begin to sort of head to our hem portion of the garment. For my garment, I didn't do a lining for the trumpet part of the dress, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off this internal lining of the shorter area, and I'm just going to tack them together. It's up to you. If you want to line the entire garment, including the trumpet area, you can do that. Because I'm doing the horsehair braid hem, I didn't want too many additional layers of fabric. I just wanted the focus to be on that hem. So I stopped adding lining at the skirt part. As you can see, it's a little bit shorter at this hem here. What I went in and did was I folded my fabric in half, not in half, a 1/4 of an inch up from the hem, and I did a machine stitch at the very edge. And with this is how you're going to create your baby hem or your rolled hem. And all I did was you go in and you edge stitch, but still leaving about a 1/4 of an inch open. You take your scissors and you cut off the excess. Fabric. Just make sure when you're cutting off the excess fabric that you are not accidentally clipping in the actual stitch, because then it opens when you try to fold it. So once you've done that, you go back to your machine, and as you can see, I went from a wider hem area. Now I have a very narrow hem area, and then I just go in and I fold it one more time. So now it's going to be nice and clean, and you're not going to have any frayed edges, and that's going to be what you want. And this is essentially how you do a baby hem. I just want to show you what that baby hem looks like once we get inside of there. I'm going to go to the bottom of the dress. So this is the top part of the dress, back, center back, and I just want to go in and so you have a better understanding of where we are at with everything. So again, this is the inside of the dress. This is where we just did that baby hem. This is the bottom of the zipper. And I just want to show you what that looks like when it's done. And it's just a very tiny, narrow seam. And this is, or hem that you can use over a variety of fabric types. And I usually use it in my special occasions, especially wedding dresses and things of that nature. And again, it's just a tried and true method. So, noting my wrong side, I then flip my dress over on the right side. Now, I've seen techniques where the horsehair braid there's a piece of fabric put right here. So that way, a lot of times, especially the wider you go with the horsehair braid, this top part tends to fray and open, and it can protrude through the dress. The way I'm going to do it, that shouldn't be a problem. But anytime you're mending or fixing a horsehair braid, you want to try to do some sort of fabric closure or something there. That way you don't have the puncturing through. I'm going to show you how I close it so that you don't really have an issue with that. It's just a simple cut. So first what you can do is, and again, the horsehair braid is not an easy 1, 2, 3. It will get easier as you go along, but initially it's a bit time consuming, a bit tedious, but it looks so pretty. So it's definitely worth it. So what I do is I'm just pinning first. And I've seen a lot of times people will go in and they won't pin and they'll just kind of like rush through it. You can do it that way, but there's a trickiness to putting on the horsehair braid. For one, it'll bunch, it'll do so many things that it's better to just take your time. So if you see here, I'm going edge to edge. So I'm taking the edge of the horsehair braid and I'm attaching it to the edge of the dress. And I'm just slowly going through and pinning it throughout its entirety. Once I'm done pinning, I always baste horsehair braid. I never run it through the machine by itself, because if you notice, horsehair braid does a couple of things. One, it stretches. So if you don't baste it, like any stretch material, it'll do its own thing. It'll move, it'll warp, it'll twist. So you want to make sure that you're constantly stabilizing the horsehair braid as you go along. So I pin it all around, I baste it all around, and then what I do is I edge stitch. So once I get to the edge or the end, I still have a lot of excess horsehair braid that I'm not going to use. I don't cut at the very edge of it. So for example, if I'm done here and it connects here, I don't automatically snip right there, because again, horsehair braid, it moves, it warps, it does all kinds of stuff. So you don't know if during the basting process or during the stitching process it's going to move over, and you don't want to be left with not enough horsehair braid to finish, because wherever it is not placed, it's going to be obvious, because it's going to be a void there. So what I just do is I go, so for example, if it ends there, I go over maybe 2.5 inches, and then I cut off at an angle. So I don't cut straight across, because that's going to bring a more likelihood that it's going to fray. So what I just do is I just cut at an angle. So I cut that off at a point so that when I'm overlapping it, it's a lot more seamless than it would be if I just did a blunt cut. So I have finished my edge stitch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go in and take my seam ripper and just remove the basting stitch that I put there, because I don't need it anymore. It's a little sometimes tough to run it through. Normally when I'm taking out a basting stitch, I can just sort of pull, but as you can see, the insertion of the horsehair sometimes interferes with that pulling, but you can clip space by space and still get the same kind of pull, so it's easier to take out. So this is what I have. You can see that edge stitch there. And now what I'm going to show you is the second step we use to create a horsehair braid. So what I do is from this edge, I go over to the right side of my fabric. This is the wrong side. I go over to the right side, and I'm just going to pin at the very edge. So here you can see that as I'm pinning, I'm tacking down the edge of the horsehair braid. So this is what it looks like on the wrong side. This is what you see on the right side. And what that does is it takes this very sort of free-flowing horsehair braid and it makes it more structured like this. If you skip this step and decide, you know what, I don't feel like doing that additional stitch, when you fold it over, it's not going to be terrible, but you see that bubble there? It's not going to be as crisp and neat as it would be if you first did this stitch. When you first do this stitch, it makes it a nice firm edge for your garment, where you don't necessarily get that if you just fold it over. So it's kind of up to you if you want to add that additional stitch on it. So once I have that other stitch that's going to sort of like flatten that area down, I'm going to flip it one more time. So the horsehair braid should be facing the wrong side of your fabric, and you shouldn't see anything on the right side of your fabric. And you repeat the process one final time. You're going to pin your horsehair all around once again. Baste that all around and you do the final top stitch, and we'll see what that looks like. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Videos are uploaded weekly covering dressmaking, fashion, lectures, and more.